Okay, so we've seen what we can do with the Table tab. Now let's look at what we can do in the Chart tab. So in this case, for the variable number 8, fuel, we have sorted the responses in the order of the responses. We have sorted the responses in descending order, and that means that the first response that appears is the response that has received the largest number of responses. So in this survey, people have mainly diesel fuel cars. So 72 cars are diesel cars. Now, let's look at the chart. In the chart, we see that the diesel fuel here is in blue, and this is the largest chart, the largest slice of our pie. So this pie chart, as it is called, this pie chart has been chosen automatically by Sphinx to represent this variable. It happens to be quite a good choice because, first of all, pie charts are very useful when we want to represent the answers of a categorical variable. But not only that, a categorical variable where we don't have too many responses. So in this case, we only have 4 types of responses. And so the chart that appears here is quite legible. It is also very informative for somebody who sees this chart because we see immediately that this blue part of the pie is the largest. So this is exactly what we want a chart to do, is to, in a fraction of the second, give an indication of how the results for the survey for this question looks like. So that is fine. I'm not going to change anything in terms of the shape of the chart, but maybe I want to change the colors of the chart. So if you're more into blues, well, you can just choose in the palette of colors and have shades of blue appearing. If you know that you're going to print a report that is only in black and white, well, in that case, maybe it would be better to choose only shades of gray. And in this case, you have a pie chart that appears in various shades of gray. So this was for question number 8 about the fuel. I'm going to just go back to the initial color. Ooh. These are the initial colors. Now, let's look at a different question. So I'm going back in the Table tab, and I'm going to choose question number 2, which is the brand of the car. The brand of the car is similarly, it's a categorical variable, and that allows only one response. So a person has a car, that car falls into just one category of a brand. So here we see all the various brands, and of course, compared to question number 8, we have a much larger number of categories. And what you see here in the chart is that Sphinx automatically chose a different type of chart, because if we choose a pie chart, I'm just going to show you what it looks like. If we choose a pie chart, this is how it looks like. You see, there are many different categories, and it's not very clear for somebody who is going to read a report and is trying to make out how many people actually have a Toyota. It's very difficult to make out. So if we use a horizontal bar chart, we have a much better view of the responses. So it is a good idea in this case to have this type of chart. So this is what you would have, a chart that you would have with a large number of categories. Now, when we have a large number of categories, there is one thing that we want to do in terms of how we're going to present the results, because it's not very clear. We have sorted, as you see, if I go back in the table chart, the rows have been sorted because we sorted it already for the previous question, so the rows have been sorted, which is good, but still I find that there are too many categories, and I want to simplify the way that the table appears. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this option that is called to group and sort modalities, and I'm going to group the various modalities. So as soon as I click in this little box, I have a parameter symbol that appears, and if I click on it, I have a new window that appears that will allow me to group the various modalities. So you see in this window I have two tabs. I have a first tab that is the active tab in purple, which says grouping, and I have another tab that is called sort, where I can click and drag the various modalities if I want to sort my modalities manually. But this is not what we're going to do now. We're going to group the various modalities. Now think for a minute, how are we going to group the various modalities of the brands of a car? Any idea? Would you have the same idea as me? And would you sort the brands, the various brands, in terms of the origin of the car? Saying that Renault, I will group the Renault car, I will create a category which is called the French cars. I type in French cars, and I just click enter. So Renault is going to be categorized in the category, a subcategory called French car. What about Peugeot? Peugeot is the same thing, it's a French car. And here I find my category French car again. A Fiat is not a French car, so I can either create a category called Italian cars, or I can just create an other cars category, because I don't have many Italian brands. So I create other cars. For BMW, I'm going to create a category that is called German cars. And I click enter. Citroën is going to be grouped with the French cars. Ford is going to be grouped with the other cars. I could create, again, another category which would be American cars, but I only have one American brand. Mercedes-Benz is going to be categorized in the German cars. Opel is going to be categorized in German cars as well. Toyota is going to be categorized in other cars. Volvo, other cars. Volkswagen, German cars. And finally, the other is going to be in other cars. And so, if I click on OK, look at the table, it has completely changed. I have now 3 major categories: French cars, other cars, and German cars. As you can see, in my table tab, in the menu here, I have a little box that can be ticked that says Show Subset. If I untick it, if I unselect it, and I confirm my choice, I only have the 3 main categories that I have created. And so I only have 3 categories, and that makes things, of course, much more clear for the reader. But here I want to categorize French cars, German cars, and then other cars. So I'm going to go back in my menu here, but instead of going in the grouping, I'm going to go in the sort, and I'm going to put the German cars ahead of the other cars. And I am going to unselect the sort rows. If I unselect the sort rows, I have my own sorting that appears. So a personalized sorting of the brands. So these 2 options of grouping the categories and manually sorting categories are going to be very useful tools to present the data in a more palatable, in a more presentable way, if I can say so. Okay, so be aware that you want to present the data in a way that is easy to read for the reader, for the person who is going to read your report.